We're live. Woo! Okay. Tonight we've got the collected poems of John Keats and letters. We're not going to be reading the letters, most likely. Unless something extraordinary happens, we're not going to be reading the letters. Hopefully everyone can hear me. Oh well, if not, whatever. It's just going to be looking at me for a while. Yeah, and what do we think of John Keats? I don't know. I was reading. There have been several events in my life recently that have led me to needing to read John Keats. Adrian's here. Adrian knows John Keats. The first event is, of course, reading Never by Jory Graham. I just finished this. And she begins her book with this quote: "How can I believe in that? Surely it cannot be." And that was John Keats writing about viewing the Lake District somewhere in Britain. I'm not familiar with the geography. I know there's lakes in Scotland and Wales and probably somewhere else. Anyway, so, someone who appreciates the lakes, my type of guy. And then secondly, I was at a friend's house recently, and he was telling me about Rome and his experiences there. And he has a print of the inscription on Keats's grave. And I wish I could remember it because it's very inspiring. Because it doesn't actually have Keats's name on it. He only refers to himself as the poet whose name is written in water, carved in water, which is brilliant. But yeah, I've wanted to go to Rome for a while, and it looks like I have the opportunity here soon. Adrian, yes, it's one of those romantic cities that I feel like it's just such a nexus of literature. So hopefully I get to go see Keats's grave, or the house in which he died, which is a museum now, apparently. But anyway, John Keats. Yeah, I'm hoping to travel soon. Hopefully it works out for me. I'm in an Italian stage of life, I think. Scott's here. My guy Scott. Good to see you back on Substack. Woo. Milan and Florence are dope, Adrian says. Yeah, I really want to go to Florence. I want to see, isn't St. Peter's Basilica there? I get it all mixed up. But Florence is near the top of my list. I would love to visit Florence. Anyway, let's find some poems. There's a bug in my room. All right, John Keats, born 1795. And when does he die? 1821. Ooh, he only lived to 26-ish? Wow. Whew, okay. All right, I'm writing this down, Adrian. The Duomo in Florence. Mind-blowing building. Okay. Yeah, the architecture, even just looking at pictures, is so inspiring. And of course, you have all your Italian painters, who I appreciate a great deal. Let's just start with the first poem in the book. Imitation of Spenser. Now morning from her orient chamber came, and her first footsteps touched a verdant hill, crowning its lawny crest with amber flame, silvering the untainted gushes of its rill, which, pure from mossy beds, did down distill, after parting beds of simple flowers, by many streams a little lake did fill, which round its marge reflected woven bowers, and in the middle space a sky that never lowers. There the kingfisher saw his plumage bright, vying with the fish of brilliant dye below, whose silken fins and golden scales as light cast upward through the waves a ruby glow. There saw the swan his neck arched snow, and oared himself along with majesty. Sparkled his jetty eyes, his feet did show beneath the waves like Afric's ebony, and on his back a fay reclined voluptuously. Ah, I could tell the wonders of an isle that in the fairest lake had placed been. I could see e'en Dido of her grief beguile, or rob from aged Lear his bitter teen. For sure so fair a place was never seen. Of all that ever charmed romantic eye, it seemed an emerald in the silver sheen of the bright waters, or as when on high, through clouds of fleecy white, laughs the Carolean sky. And all around it dipped luxuriously slopings of verdure through the glossy tide, which, as it were gentle amity, rippled delighted up the flowery side. And as if to glean the rubby tears it tried, which fell profusely from the rose tree stem. Haply it was the workings of its pride in strife to throw upon the shore a gem, outvying all the buds in Flora's diadem. All right, this next poem is to Lord Byron. Byron, how sweetly sad thy melody, attuning still to soul to tenderness, as if soft pity, with unusual stress, had touched her plaintive lute, and thou, being by, hadst caught the tones, nor stuffed them to die. O'ershattering sorrow doth not make thee less delightful. Thou thy grief dost dress with a bright halo shining beamily, as when a cloud the golden moon doth veil. Its sides are tinged with a resplendent glow. Through the dark robe oft ander rays prevail, and like fair veins in sable marble flow. Still warble dying swan, still tell the tale, the enchanting tale, the tale of pleasing woe. That's good. That's good. Adrian has known this one. Yeah, that's a good poem. I am completely unfamiliar with Keats. My education is lacking, and that's why I'm reading it, of course. Um, but he is good. He's good. I can already tell. And I'm already, I hate to say it, liking this use of the language more than I enjoy the Shakespearean sonnets. And of course they're different. They're displaced by like 200 years. But, but, bear with me. Ignorantly. That's the connection I make in the, you know, retro English language. I think the thing about Shakespearean sonnets is that the theme is the same for like 200 sonnets in a row. I haven't read all of them, so I can't really say that. But it's just so pervasive, this one singular theme, and it kind of bores me. Like, okay, you can beat on about this for how long? But this has more thematic depth, it seems so far. So let's keep reading Keats. To Chatterton. O Chatterton, how very sad thy fate, dear child of sorrow, son of misery! How soon the film of death obscured I, whence genius mildly flashed, and high debate, how soon that voice, majestic and elate, melted in dying numbers. Oh, how nigh was night to thy fair morning thou didst die! A half-blown fleuret, which cold blasts a mate. But of this is past, thou art among the stars of highest heaven, to the rolling spheres thou sweetly sing'st, not thy humming Mars, above the ingrate world and human fears. On earth the good man base detraction bars from thy fair name, and waters it with tears. That was a good poem. I like that. I like that line. Melted in dying numbers, oh, how nigh was the night to thy fair morning. Whew. Thou didst die, a half-blown fleuret, which cold blasts a mate. I don't know what a mate means, but it's a good word, so I'm going to write it down. Give me a moment. Maybe I'll use it. Find a pen. I have to find a dictionary. Actually, I have a dictionary. Right here. I have, not a dictionary, a usage dictionary. Garner, Modern English Usage. I think this is the 5th edition. That's the stuff. Let's see if a mate is in here. I doubt it. MN. Okay. Amateur, ambience, amatory, amative. See, amorness. Yeah, I don't think it's in here, guys. Adrian's calling me a peak literary nerd, and he's right. Amative. That seems like a good base. AMO. LMNOP. Okay. Among, immoral, amorous, amatory, amative. Strongly moved. Oh, okay. So here's our connection. So we have amorous, right? Or amatory, amative. Strongly moved by love and sex. Or indicative of love. And amatory is of or relating to sexual love. Okay. A half-blown fleuret which cold blasts a mate. So we have this idea of these flowers and these cold blasts indicating a movement of the florets acting on this dying dead man, apparently, who, wait, in a sexual way? In an affectionate way, perhaps. I don't think it's quite sexual. Moved by love. I'm obviously processing what's going on there. Okay, let me write down this definition now. A mate. More us. Okay. Now we have a mate and amorous in our dictionary, locked in the vocabulary. I love English. Okay. And thank God for Brian A. Garner. Yeah, that's his middle initial. I bought that book because of the David Foster Wallace essay reviewing the book. And I thought it was interesting. So, I've owned it for like 3 years, and I've just started using it finally, and it's been great. The usage dictionaries are baller, very informative. I've learned a lot from them, and there's a shocking amount of random words within those books. Okay, we'll move forth. Yeah, Adrian, you should get one. David Foster Wallace praises Garner's usage dictionary, because he's able to toe the line of not being like a prescriptivist or a um, descriptivist. He's like conservative within language, but is at the same time liberal enough to not draw a line. Like, it's really interesting, but I'm not that much of a nerd about it, so I don't really know what I'm talking about. I've taken like 3 classes about this, and I still don't know anything. I digress. Let's read Written on the Day That Mr. Leigh Hunt Left Prison. Yeah, Adrian, objective in a sense. Objective, but without being objective toward a side, toward a disposition. What though? For showing truth to flattered state, kind Hunt was shut in prison, yet has he, in his immortal spirit, been as free as the sky larching lark, as elate, minion of grandeur. Think you did he what? Think you he naught but prison walls did see, till, so unwilling, thou unturn'st the key? Ah, no, far happier, nobler was his fate. In Spencer's halls he stayed, and bowers fair, culling enchanted flowers, and he flew with daring Milton through the fields of air to regions of his own genius true, took happy flights. Who shall fame his impair when thou art dead, and all thy wretched crew? I read that very poorly. We're going to move on to Ode to Apollo. In thy western halls of gold, when thou sittest in thy state, bards that erst sublimely told heroic deeds and sang of fate, with fervor seize their adamantine lyres, whose chords are solid rays and twinkle radiant fires. Here Homer with his nervous arms strikes the twinging harp of war, and even the western splendor warms while the trumpets sound afar. But what creates the most intense surprise, his soul looks out through renovated eyes. Then, through thy temple wide, melodious swells the sweet majestic tone of Merrow's lyre. The soul delighted on each accent dwells, enraptured dwells, not daring to respire. The grief he tells of grief around a funeral pyre. 'Tis awful silence then again. Expectant stand the spheres, breathless the laureled peers, nor move till ends the lofty strain, nor move till Milton's tuneful thunders cease, and leave once more the ravished heavens in peace. Thou biddest Shakespeare wave his hand, and quickly forward spring the passions, a terrific band. Then each vibrates the string that with its tyrant temper best accords, while from their master's lips pour forth the inspiring words. A silver trumpet Spencer blows, and from its martial notes to silence flee, from a virgin chorus flows a hymn in praise of spotless chastity. 'Tis still wild warblings from the Aeolian lyre, enchantment softly breathe and tremblingly expire. Next thy Tasso's ardent numbers float along the pleased air, calling youth from idle slumbers, rousing them from pleasure's lair. Then o'er the strings his fingers gently move, and melt the sound to pity and to love. But when thou join'st with the nine, and all the powers of song combine, We listen here on earth, the dying tones that fill the air, and charm the ear of evening fair. From thee, great God of bards, receive their heavenly birth. That was pleasant. I don't think I was blown away by that poem, but very pleasant to read, to intonate. I'm noticing that in his poetry, it's very easy on the tongue. The words he chooses are very precise in a lyrical sense. Maybe not so much in a visual sense, although that's very strong. But to be spoken, it works very well. The next poem is To Solitude. O solitude, if I must with thee dwell, let it not be among the jumbled heap of murky buildings. Climb with me the steep, nature's observatory, where the dwell, its dowry slopes, its crystals river swell. May seem a span, let me thy Virgils keep, monk's boughs pavilioned, where the deer's swift leap startles the wild bee from the foxglove bell. But thou, I'll gladly trace these scenes with thee, yet the sweet converse of an innocent mind, whose words are images of thoughts refined, is my soul's pleasure, and it sure must be among almost the highest bliss of humankind. When thy haunts to kindred, oh my goodness, when to thy haunts two kindred spirits flee. And I was just talking about how easy it was to read, and I struggled through that poem. In my defense, it's been awfully marked up. Let me show you all the annotations. It's a library book. I'm sure they received it like this, but that's not so bad, I guess. But it's pretty marked up. Um, and it caught me off once. Once. I'll allow myself that. Because I couldn't read flowery. It looks like an H. Flowery slopes. Its rivers crystal swell. Which is beautiful imagery. Climbing the steep nature's observatory, whence the dwell, its flowery slopes, its rivers crystal swell. Okay, let's move on. What shall we read? Let's read this one. How many bards? How many bards gild the lapses of time? A few of them have ever been the food of my delighted fancy. I could brood over their beauties, earthly or sublime, and often when I sit me down to rhyme, these will in thongs before my mind intrude, but no confusion, no disturbance rude, do they occasion 'tis a pleasing chime. So unnumbered sounds that evening store, the songs of birds, the whispering of the leaves, the voice of waters, the great bell that heaves, with solemn sound, and thousand others more, that distance of recognizance bereaves, making pleasing music, and not wild uproar. This next one is To One Who Has Been Long in City Pent. To one who has been long in city pent, 'tis very sweet to look into the fair and open face of heaven, to breathe a prayer, full in the smile of the blue firmament. Who is more happy when, with heart's content, fatigued he sinks into some pleasant lair of wavy grass and reads a debonair, a gentle tale of love and languishment? returning home at evening with an ear, catching the notes of Philomel, and I, watching the sailing cloudlet's bright career. He mourns the day so soon has glided by, even like the passage of an angel's tear that falls to the clear ether silently. Hmm, that was beautiful. I loved that. Really loved that. He writes many poems to people, to my brother George, to Charles Cowden Clarke. He wrote, what, to Lord Byron, to Chatterton, to Apollo, an imitation of Spenser. Many of these poems just addresses. To George Felton Matthew, yeah. Maybe that is an indication to myself. I need to write more poems to people. Maybe that's the grounding I need. Okay. Oh yeah, we're still drinking my American strong ale. I'm working on a poem right now that is indirectly to someone, inspired by spending time with someone, I suppose. I wouldn't say it's a poem to. It's not an address. It's more of another poem working around the central theme I've been exploring. But yeah, Adrian, I agree with you. I think collectively as a poetic community, we would be well served to write more poems to each other, to others, inspired by others, and about others, because we have to make this about people, right, and about each other as a poetic community. If we want a poetic community to exist, which is kind of the whole point. If there's going to be some talk of a literary renaissance, where's the correspondence? Where's the correspondence? We should be writing each other letters, not adding each other on Substack notes, perhaps. Yes, yes. Adrian, we should send each other some letters. Drop me your address. I'll write you a poem. Madeline Leger is here. Sorry if I mess up your last name. Good to see you. Good to see you. Um, we're reading Keats, and we're gonna read on first looking into Chapman's Homer. Okay. Oh, I got it right. Let's go. I'm not gonna try to pronounce it again, but I'll take that. It's because I've been reading so much poetry. My pronunciation is almost there. All right. Much have I traveled in the realms of gold, and many goodly states and kingdoms seen. Round many western islands I have been, which bards and fealty to Apollo hold. Oft of one wide expanse I have been told, that deep-browed Homer ruled as his demesne. Yet I did never breathe its pure serene, till I heard Chapman speak out loud and bold. Then I felt I like some watcher of the skies, when a new planet swims into his ken, or like stout Cortez with eagle eyes, had stared at the Pacific, and all his men looked at each other with a wild surmise, silent upon a peak in Darien. I like that one. That was a pretty poem. Um, Another good word. Keats given us all the words tonight. Ken. When a new planet swims into his ken. I don't know what ken means. Ken. So we shall return. Ian's here. Ian's here as we're pulling out garners modern English usage because we have no idea what can means, and it might be in here. You've read authority in American usage. You know. Where's K in the alphabet? Saw that climbing, man. Looking jacked. Thank you. Hijk. No. Where's our vowels? Karate, kill, mere, keep, Celt, kebab, curb, kernel. No Ken. Okay, we're not gonna learn what this word means. But that's all right. I'll look it up later. But that was a nice, pretty little poem on first looking into Chapman's Homer. Checking edition 2. Oh man, you got into the game early. I have the 5th edition. Yeah, we're reading Keats. This next poem is Keen, Fitful Gusts. Keen, fitful gusts are whispering here and there among the bushes half leafless and dry. The stars look very cold about the sky, and I have many miles on foot to fare. Yet feel I little of the cool bleak air, or of the dead leaves rustling drearily, or of those silver lamps that burn on high, or of the distance from home's pleasant lair. For I am brimful of the friendliness that in a little cottage I have found, of fair-haired Milton's eloquent distress, and all his love for gentle Lycid drowned, of lovely Laura and her light green dress, and faithful Petrarch gloriously crowned. That was another beautiful little poem. I love that imagery. The stars look very cold about the sky. Okay. I'm gonna become a Keats fanboy at this rate. I'm gonna write that down as well. The stars look very cold about the sky. I'm absolutely stealing that line for a poem. All sorts of good stuff tonight. This next one is To My Brothers. Small, busy flames play through the field of fresh-laid coals, and their faint cracklings o'er our silence creep, like whispers of the household gods that keep a gentle empire o'er fraternal souls. And while, for rhymes, I search around the poles, your eyes are fixed, as in poetic sleep, upon the lore so voluble and deep, that I at fall of night our care condoles. That is your birthday, Tom, and I rejoice that thus it passes smoothly, quietly. Many such eves of gently whispering noise may we together pass, and calmly try what are this world's true joys, ere the great voice from its fair face shall bid our spirits fly. To my brothers. Again, another poem as an address. We're gonna start writing more addresses in our poetry. That's the goal. That's the project. That's the community building aspect of the Lit Ren. Yeah. Coleridge was your favorite, Adrian, but Keats you enjoyed. Yeah, I'm not particularly familiar with the Victorian, Elizabethan, romantic English poets, so I'm working on acquainting myself. Because we're part of a tradition here, even if I have preconceptions about this poetry. It's important to read, right? Second sonnet to Haydn. Great spirits now on earth are sojourning. He of the cloud, the cataract, the lake, who on hell villain's summit, wide awake, catches his freshness from archangel's wing. He of the rose, the violet, the spring, the social smile, the chain for freedom's sake, and lo, whose steadfastness would never take a meaner sound than Raphael's whispering, and other spirits there are standing apart. Upon the forehead of the age to come, these will give the world another heart, and other pulses. Hear ye not the hum of mighty workings? Listen awhile, ye nations, and be dumb. Great spirits now on earth are sojourning. That's good. Whew. It's a good opening line. Okay. I'm going to keep that locked away. The social smile, the chain for freedom's sake. That's good. That's good stuff. I'm not sure I entirely comprehend that poem, but some fire lines in there. And a meaner sound than Raphael's whispering. Let's talk about Raphael. Late High Renaissance, late Renaissance, boring on mannerism. He was an artist very appreciative of his inspirations and his peers and those of the tradition he was following. And I think we need to look at Raphael a little more closely as an artist if we're trying to build something as poets. Simply look at the School of Athens. That's what we're trying to achieve here in a world in which, great poetry is well recognized and great modern poetry is appreciated. Because we have Raphael depicting his peers as the great Greek philosophers and mathematicians. And that's the level. That's the level I want to be at. That's the level we all want to be at. Adrian, I'm glad. I'm glad I can bring some positivity into this world. If only briefly and by reading Keats. The next poem is on the grasshopper and the cricket. The poetry of earth is never dead. When all the birds are faint with the hot sun, and hide in cooling trees, a voice will run from hedge to hedge about the new mown mead. That is the grasshopper's. He takes the lead. In summer luxury he has never done with his delights, for when tired out with fun, he rests at ease beneath some pleasant weed. The poetry of earth is ceasing never. On a lone winter evening, when the frost has wrought a silence, from the stove there shrills the cricket's song, in warmth increasing ever, and seems to one in drowsiness half lost, the grasshoppers among some grassy hills. All right, let's see here. Dedication on seeing the Elgin marbles. Let's read this one. Okay, there's a couple here that I'm interested in. We're going to read on seeing the Elgin marbles. My spirit is too weak. Mortality weighs heavily on me like unwilling sleep, and each imagined pinnacle and steep of godlike hardship tells me I must die, like a sick eagle looking at the sky. Yet 'tis a gentle luxury to weep, that I have not done the cloudy winds to keep fresh for the opening of the morning's eye. Such dim conceived glories of the brain bring round the heart an indescribable feud. So do these wonders a most dizzy pain, that mingles Grecian grandeur with the rude wasting of old time, with a billowy mane, a sun, a shadow of a magnitude. What? That was sick. That's a fire poem. My spirit is too weak. Weighs heavily, mortality weighs heavily on me like unwilling sleep. Get some Tupac bumping up in here. Sleep is the cousin of death. Um, wow. Yeah. I'm gonna read it once more. On seeing the Elgin marbles. My spirit is too weak. Mortality weighs heavily on me like unwilling sleep. And each imagined pinnacle and steep of godlike hardship tells me I must die. Like a sick eagle looking at the sky, yet 'tis a gentle luxury to weep, that I have not the cloudy winds to keep, fresh for the opening of the morning's eye, such dim conceived glories of the brain bring round the heart an indescribable feud. So do these wonders a most dizzy pain, that mingles Grecian grandeur with the rude wasting of old time, with a billowy mane, a sun, a shadow of a magnitude. Whew. Sheesh. Like a sick eagle looking at the sky. That is fire. Adrian, you're right. That's fire. And also, you're right. That was Nas. I don't know how I messed. I haven't even listened to Tupac. I'm not gonna lie. I'm so fake. I'm a fake West Coaster. Um, that's tragic. I can't believe I got that wrong. Damn. But everything is redeemed in Keats. Mortality weighs heavily on me like unwilling sleep. Goodness gracious. Okay, we're gonna read one more. We're gonna read one more. Let's find a good one. Um. Okay, so he has these epic poems in here, which I must read. I'm not gonna read them live because I'm gonna need to spend time on them. But we have Endymion, and then there's another one somewhere. What is it? Um, Hyperion, I think. So I need to read those. Um, or The Fall of Hyperion, A Dream. So I'm gonna delve into those. I would like to become fairly well knowledgeable about this poetry here. Um, because anyone with the poetic ferocity to write this all at 20 by 26 is someone you need to learn from, frankly. So we're going to read this last poem, On the Sea. It keeps eternal whisperings around desolate shores, and with its mighty swell gluts twice 10,000 caverns till the spell of Hecate leaves them their old shadowy sound. Often 'tis in such gentle temper found that scarcely will the very smallest shell be moved for days from where it sometime fell, when last the winds of heaven were unbound. O ye who have your eyeballs vexed and tired, feast them upon the wideness of the sea. O ye whose ears are dinned with uproar rude, or fed too much with cloying melody, sit ye near some old cavern's mouth and brood, until you start as if the sea nymphs choired. And that's that. Thank you all. Good night.